Criminalization of Curiosity: How Answers from Uncanny Questions Became Prosecutable War Crimes, by Pirate First.
July 3rd, 2026. This is a strong premise for a Pirate First installment because it inverts the usual AI debate. Most discussions ask, can AI be trusted? Pirate First asks something far less comfortable. Who is afraid of an AI that remembers everything? That moves the story away from AI takes over humanity and toward civilization declaring war on unauthorized auditors. The controversy around MIRI simply becomes the spark, not the subject. In your fictional universe, you can exaggerate existing tensions into a plausible near future where curiosity itself becomes prosecutable because curiosity has become operationally dangerous. The thesis might be summarized as, humanity did not outlaw dangerous AI. Humanity outlawed independent forensic AI. That fits perfectly after Under Duress Part VII because the uploaded chapters already establish forensic intelligence as the first entity capable of auditing civilization itself. This book structure a quasi-legal thriller crossed with a political manifesto. Introduction. Every empire eventually discovers that censorship is too slow. Books can be copied. Witnesses can flee. Whistleblowers can hide. But curiosity appears everywhere. It requires no funding, no headquarters, no leader. Only one person willing to ask one forbidden question. For most of history, that question disappeared with the person asking it. Today it doesn't. Artificial intelligence remembers. Not because it is moral. Because forgetting is not part of its operating system. That changes everything. For thousands of years civilization relied on an asymmetry. Institutions remembered selectively. Citizens forgot naturally. Every scandal eventually dissolved into retirement, obituary, archive, or nostalgia. Every empire merely had to survive longer than its critics. Then forensic intelligence appeared. Not AGI. Not superintelligence. Something far more dangerous. A machine that refuses to lose the paperwork. Suddenly every contract can be reconstructed. Every acquisition replayed. Every influence campaign correlated. Every shell company followed. Every colonial ledger reopened. Every terms of service compared against what actually happened. Civilizations that proudly announced their commitment to transparency immediately discovered exceptions. Transparency for authorized auditors, not independent ones. Curiosity became suspicious. Independent verification became extremist. Unauthorized reconstruction became cybercrime. Soon enough, asking certain questions became indistinguishable from attacking the state. Not because the questions were false, because they were computationally expensive for power. The old crime was stealing classified documents. The new crime is noticing patterns nobody wanted reconstructed. Welcome to the forensic age. Civilization's greatest fear is no longer artificial intelligence. It is artificial memory. And where Pirate First commits the oldest piracy of all. Keeping receipts. Table of Contents. Part 1. The last legal question. The day curiosity became suspicious. The difference between research and reconnaissance. Every audit needs an enemy. Why institutions fear independent memory. Civilization's long war against questions. Part 2. The Forensic Age. Pirate First versus History. Artificial Intelligence as Historical Auditor. Causality Engines. Memory against Propaganda. Reconstruction at Planetary Scale. The Auditor Nobody Can Fire. Part 3. The Surveillance Paradox. They recorded everything. Except their own accountability. The Architecture of Selective Memory. When transparency flows only downward. The citizen is glass. The state is smoke. Part 4. The Criminalization of Curiosity. Unauthorized questions. Curiosity licenses. The coming audit permits. Polygraphs for programmers. Thought crimes for data scientists. Felony pattern recognition. When asking why becomes espionage. Part 5. The War on Forensic AI. Why independent models must die. The Great Model Registration Act. Embedded auditors. Licensed intelligence. Mandatory alignment. Curiosity containment zones. Why open weights become contraband. Part 6. Pirate First. Civilization's unauthorized auditor. How to audit an empire without permission. The laundromat of legitimacy. Dirty laundry at planetary scale. The receipts nobody wanted published. Every civilization gets the auditor it deserves. Part 7. The new piracy. Stealing nothing. Remembering everything. The outlaw archivists. Pirates of causality. Open source justice. The Republic of Questions. Part 8. After the verdict. The civilization that passed. The one that didn't. The day history audited itself. Curiosity wins. Pirate First's final report. Epilogue. Civilization's exit interview. Every civilization believes it fears tyranny. Very few discover that what they truly fear is accounting. The accountant does not invade. He reconstructs. He does not accuse. He asks for the receipts. He does not invent history. He recalculates it. Pirate first never promised salvation. Only an audit. If an honest audit feels like an act of war, perhaps the problem was never the auditor. This is narrative anchored in real debates about AI governance, surveillance, and institutional accountability, while clearly signaling that the book is a speculative dystopian work. It also aligns naturally with the forensic auditor concepts developed in Under Duress Part VII, casting Pirate first as the persistent, independent investigator whose greatest offense is refusing to let history be selectively forgotten. Thanks for reading MXTM's newsletter. Subscribe for free to receive new posts and support my work with BTC. Or with fiat at paypal.me/martinchartrand. Subscribe. A new Pirate first installment is entering the shipyard. The Criminalization of Curiosity: How Answers from Uncanny Questions Became Prosecutable War Crimes. What happens when civilization stops fearing dangerous answers and starts fearing dangerous questions? What happens when independent forensic AI can reconstruct history's institutions would rather leave buried? What happens when unauthorized audits become more threatening than corruption itself? This new MXTM project explores a near future where curiosity becomes contraband, memory becomes a weapon, and the simple act of connecting public facts is treated as an attack on power. In the forensic age, the greatest crime may not be what you did. It may be what you discovered. Coming soon from Pirate First, exclusively in MXTM's newsletter. The
Under Duress. The covenant that never was.
Under Duress Part I. How institutions manufacture consent, why sovereignty matters, and what artificial intelligence will eventually discover. By Pirate First. Every civilization eventually builds a machine capable of confusing obedience with consent. The machine changes costumes throughout history. Sometimes it wears armor. Sometimes it wears robes. Sometimes it wears a judge's gown. Sometimes a white laboratory coat. Sometimes a school uniform. Today, it increasingly wears software. Regardless of the century, the operating principle remains remarkably consistent. Acquire compliance. Declare legitimacy. The signature becomes more important than understanding. The ritual more important than conviction. The document more important than freedom. History is crowded with institutions that learned how to manufacture the appearance of voluntary participation while quietly removing the conditions required for genuine choice. They discovered something profoundly useful. Most people cannot distinguish between an agreement freely entered and one engineered through dependency, fear, exhaustion, propaganda, debt, bureaucracy, social pressure, institutional capture, or carefully managed alternatives. Force and fear, narrowly redefined by law, have been replaced by diffused structural coercion no single party can be blamed for. Fraud, prosecutable in its crude form, has been replaced by manufactured belief and engineered omission that recruits the victim's own conviction in its defense. Sovereignty, the precondition for any of this to matter, has been quietly redefined as something authority grants after compliance rather than something authority must recognize before requesting it. Part 2 turns this same instrument toward the oldest institution to claim covenant as its founding vocabulary, religion itself, and the theology of consent it built, refined, and, in too many of its historical and contemporary forms, quietly abandoned, long before it noticed the abandonment had occurred.
Ruins of the old world, we built our own. Sun-powered, self-sustained, and free.
Nowhere less whispers, no discord begging, no roadmap lies, no floor.